Unfortunately, when you buy a house, the fund's just begun and you're going to have a lot of costs. I've broken up in the First Home Buyers Help Kit exactly what's going to happen probably pre-property, at settlement, and then ongoing afterwards, and just written up a nice list. So you can put your own estimates in this spreadsheet and have an idea of how much a property is going to actually cost you at these three crucial times. So just going quickly through the list. Loan fees, obviously with the mortgage broker, you can try and negotiate or even eliminate these fees. So there is some savings to be made there. Stamp duty is going to be about 5% of the purchase price. It's going to depend on what state you're in and also what price you're paying for the property. But as a rule of thumb, you say about 4 or 5%. Now, lender's mortgage insurance is going to depend on your deposit level. But make sure when you get the pre-approval done, you're aware up front of roughly how much you're going to have to pay of lender's mortgage insurance, if any, and try and eliminate this cost if you can. As mentioned, you'll probably need a building inspector, but like I said, this really should not be a cost. This should be seen as an opportunity to 1, learn, and 2, negotiate. The next phase of costs, of course, are at settlement, where you're going to have to pay for a conveyancer to get all the property legals done and to transfer the title into your name. Obviously then moving costs, you're probably going to have to hire a truck to move all your belongings along, or the alternative is that you don't really have many belongings at the moment, in which case you're going to have to spend a few $1,000s just to get started for the basics. I wouldn't necessarily go straight out either and buy the big screen TV. The reason for that is maybe spending $3,000 on a home entertainment system. This probably isn't the best way to get your home ownership off to a good start, as that $3,000 could really probably be spent in better areas. And lastly, the ongoing costs. Unfortunately, I know you're not going to be renting anymore, but there's still going to be costs year to year to maintain your home, such as council rates, body corporate fees if you happen to live on some shared property in any way, obviously your water, electricity, gas, insurance of the house, maintenance, and I've estimated that all this can easily add up to $4,000 a year. So you're not quite out of the woods yet, because on top of the mortgage repayments, it's going to be a big change to your lifestyle. But as long as you're aware and prepared to make a few sacrifices, you can make cost cutting now before you've even started. I'm just going to finish up now on the topic of looking at money differently. I can pretty much guarantee that the information I'm about to reveal is not available anywhere else. The reason for that is that with my accounting background and property investing skills, I've been exposed to a lot of different ways of looking at money and investing, and I just want to pass on some of the concepts to you. It'll get you thinking and hopefully get the right mindset so that you can pay off your home sooner. Consider this: the first home you buy is the most you're ever going to have to pay for a property. Now what I mean by that is, if you were to go now and to buy a $200,000 house and in 10 years time buy another house for $600,000, you're only actually paying $200,000 as long as it's in the same area and the same type of house. The reason for that is, over those 10 years you would have built $400,000 equity, and to keep this example simple, we'll say that it was an interest-only loan, so you still don't own any of that initial $200,000. But when you buy that next house at that $600,000 mark, all you have to do is get that same loan of $200,000, because that $400,000 equity is yours. Then if in 30 years time again you were to buy another house for $1.5 million, as long as it's the same type of house, in the same type of area, you're still never going to have to pay more than that $200,000. Just a different way of looking at things, and it's also a way that people often justify about getting in the market, because they figure if they don't get in now they'll miss the boat and property prices will rise. So on that front they can be right, though there is dangers in the short term with cash flow. Like I said, with my accounting background I was exposed to a lot of different ways of property investing. The most common is the negatively geared model. That is that people buy property to save tax. And I think that's potentially very flawed. The reason for that is that, I'll give a quick example. If I was to buy a house for $250,000 and make loan repayments every year, I have to make a loss every year to get my tax deduction. But the tax deduction is only going to be probably 30% of what the actual loss is. So I'm still going to be out of pocket a certain amount of money. So let's say for 10 years I'm out of pocket $7,000 after getting all my tax rebates. So I've lost $70,000 in the bid to make money for this house. Doesn't seem to make sense, does it? But why people do it, obviously, is for the capital growth. So if this house was to double in price from $250,000 to $500,000, in theory I've made a $250,000 profit. However, you have to then go back and go, well, I've lost $70,000 in the meantime, so it's only $180,000. But then again, if I was to sell the house now, I'd have to pay tax on that $250,000, and maybe have to pay the tax man another $80,000. So at the end of the day, once all these losses come out year by year, and then the capital gain at the end being taxed, I may have only made about $15,000 or $16,000 a year over a 10-year period, even though I've cashed in on a $250,000 profit. So, like I said, it can be a good strategy, but at the same time it's potentially flawed in the fact that you may think at the end of the day you've made a lot more money than you actually have.